we saw Liam fall. Being able to see it happen and then hear the impact on the ground, which was more haunting than seeing him fall.
Roger Norris, he was Liam's good friend who accompanied him to Buenos Aires. He is in the crosshairs of prosecutors now over alleged abandonment of Liam.
I went to the hotel 3 times to check on him. During that morning, he seemed tipsy, but nothing out of the ordinary.
¿Tú uso drogas? Did you use drugs with Liam the first night you met him?
Yeah, there was.
¿Qué drogas? What drugs did you use?
No, yeah, cocaína.
There was cocaine.
Are the people they're going after, the way you see it, perpetrators or scapegoats?
It sounds kind of like both in some respect.
Everyone sees me in a bad way. They see me as the murderer, so to speak. And I'm not. I'm also the victim. They want to take me for a ride, they would say here in Argentina.
Oh, that's very sweet. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, it hasn't gotten easier.
I haven't said goodbye to Liam yet, but I will, eventually.
Buenos Aires, October 16th, 2024. A 5-star hotel, a private balcony, and a fall that would be seen around the world. At 5:07 p.m., emergency responders are called to the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel. Minutes later, a 31-year-old man is pronounced dead. His name, Liam Payne. The official autopsy does not speak in headlines. It speaks in clinical certainty. Cause of death, polytrauma. Internal and external hemorrhaging. 25 injuries. Multiple fractures. Severe cranial trauma. But one detail, buried deeper in the judicial findings, complicates everything. The investigating judge concludes that Payne did not lose consciousness before the fall. Instead, he attempted to leave through the balcony. Not a collapse, not a slip, an attempt. Why?
So he had gone from the 3rd floor where he fell and came down and then past your room on the 1st floor and then fell to his death.
Yes. And so we immediately rushed out on the balcony to see what it was, and when we looked down, you could see that it was Liam laying on the ground. He landed face up, so we could tell right away that it was Liam, and he was motionless.
It seemed that he died on impact.
I don't have a medical background, but from what I saw, it looked like he passed away immediately on impact. So time really, after we saw this, time sort of stopped or really slowed down immediately. Afterwards, the wedding planner and myself just looked at each other just to see, like, oh my God, this is real, this actually happened.
Authorities quickly rule out suicide. They also rule out direct third-party violence. But ruling something out is not the same as explaining what remains. Then what caused a 31-year-old man to climb over a balcony? Why was no effective intervention made before the fall?
The toxicology report shows there was cocaine, alcohol, and an antidepressant in his system. The medical evidence that I've read says that when you combine alcohol and this antidepressant he was on, it can create kind of a magnified effect.
He's agitated, he's intoxicated, he's escalated, and he's making choices that are just poor.
The fatal poor choice was after Liam was taken to the room the final time. There's little doubt He was trying to scale down the third-floor balcony to the ground to escape. He put on a hat, strapped his bag to his shoulder, and then took a leather bag and dropped it to the second-floor balcony. All of this shows Liam thought he could get from the third-floor balcony to the second, and then jump to the ground. But he lost his grip and fell to his death.
The only reason why he would put his hat on is if he was leaving the hotel. Like that was him. That's what he would do.
To understand the fall, investigators turned to what was in his system. Toxicology reports rarely tell a simple story. This one tells several: alcohol, cocaine, a prescription antidepressant, and metabolites, chemical traces, indicating drug use within the previous 72 hours. Inside the room, investigators find signs of chaos: furniture displaced, objects broken, evidence of a struggle, not with another person, but with something else. The combination matters, because each substance affects judgment, perception, risk. Together, they can distort reality itself. Was his mental state impaired to the point of losing situational awareness?
You'll, of course, remember back when Payne's death happened, it was reported that he had pink cocaine in his system, and Dr. Peter Chin Hong is here to talk about the drug. So, Peter, we still don't, and we may never know what was going through Payne's head when this incident happened, so we won't speculate on his specific case, but in general, what can pink cocaine do to a person's psyche? Can it make a person act erratically?
Yeah, so the first thing, Austin, is just to review what comprises pink cocaine. So it doesn't have cocaine generally. You can have cocaine in addition to pink cocaine. It's mainly, something that could contain something like ecstasy, which makes you feel good and you want to love everyone. And then something like ketamine, which, of course, gained notoriety, in previous times with, other deaths. And what ketamine does is, in the beginning, it can make you dissociate. So you're not feeling that you're part of reality. You're feeling like you have an out-of-body experience. But in higher doses, it is an anesthetic. It is used in the hospital system for anesthesia. And what that does, it makes you drowsy and, completely not responsive.
Early reports introduced another term into public discussion: pink cocaine. A misleading name. Not a single drug, but a mixture, often including MDMA, ketamine, or stimulants. Authorities never conclusively confirmed its presence in the final toxicology, but the suggestion lingered. Then there is the question of supply. Surveillance footage captures exchanges, small, discreet, repeated, between Payne and individuals connected to the hotel. A waiter, a hotel employee, both later charged with supplying cocaine.
Prosecutors say Liam was crazed when he got to the hotel Sunday night, just 3 days before his death. They say he went out looking for drugs and found them with the help of a waiter named Brian Noel Pais. That's Brian entering the hotel with Liam. Prosecutors are going after Brian for supplying narcotics to Liam.
Mi nombre es Brian.
My name is Brian. I'm 24 years old, and I met Liam at my restaurant.
Que ellos dicen que soy...
They say I'm the dealer, that I carried drugs, that I sold them, and the truth is that no, I didn't sell them.
TMZ has seen text exchanges from official documents which make it very clear that Brian brought 3 grams of cocaine to Liam's hotel. Brian even sent photos of the white powder, according to prosecutors.
Investigators recover an aluminum pipe in the room, a device commonly associated with drug consumption. Its presence reinforces what toxicology suggests. This was not a single isolated incident. It was part of a pattern. And yet, despite the footage, despite the charges, only 2 individuals remain formally accused of supplying drugs. No broader network identified. No systemic failure acknowledged. Why only 2? Before the fall, there was a warning. A call placed by hotel staff. The caller describes a guest who is overwhelmed by drugs and alcohol. The urgency is clear, but what follows is less so. Minutes pass. Staff enter the room. They assess the situation, and then they make a decision. They carry him back inside, not to a medical facility, not to a secure area, back to the same room, with the same balcony. Why was he returned to a room with an accessible balcony?
I think a lot of people are going to have big, strong opinions about what should have been done, as in any situation. But if you were that hotel worker in Argentina and you are making a last-minute quick decision of what to do with someone in a dire situation, you're doing your best you can. They brought him up to his room, which probably in that moment seemed like the best thing they could do. I don't know that we should be so quick to pass judgment on people who were likely trying to remove him from the public and get him on his own so he could at least be separated and they could figure out what to do.
I think for anybody out there who is having a problem with mental health or something and that struggle it is, but the best thing is to just go and speak to someone. Because if you go through it by yourself, you're your own soundboard and we're all just as crazy as the next person.
Are the people they're going after, the way you see it, perpetrators or scapegoats?
It sounds kind of like both in some respect.
Prosecutors initially framed this as more than a mistake. They file manslaughter charges, not just against staff, but against a close associate, Rogelio Nores, and 2 senior hotel executives. The accusation? Failure of duty, negligence, contributing to death. But in February 2025, those charges are dropped. The court's reasoning is precise. Insufficient evidence of direct causation. No clear proof that their actions or inaction legally caused the fall.
I don't necessarily think that it's fair to say that these individuals are responsible for his death. However, when you have people that work at the hotel and they're supplying him with illegal drugs like the cocaine, you do start to get into that territory of they should have known better.
What's the difference between a hotel employee bringing cocaine up to the room versus bringing 4 or 5 bottles of whiskey up to the room?
Ultimately, I think alcohol is one of the most dangerous drugs in the world. And the fact that it's legal, for some reason, people view that differently.
Everyone sees me in a bad way. They see me as the murderer, so to speak. And I'm not. I'm also the victim. They want to take me for a ride, they would say here in Argentina.
What threshold of responsibility applies when risk is clearly identified? The ruling draws a line between moral responsibility and legal liability, but it also leaves a gap because the sequence of events remains unchanged. A vulnerable individual, a known risk, a decision that did not prevent the outcome. Why was emergency medical containment not prioritized? The hotel's internal protocols have not been fully disclosed, nor have all staff statements been made public. What is known is this: the system recognized danger, but it did not stop it. By early 2025, much of the case appears settled. Cause of death established. Criminal liability narrowed. Public attention begins to fade, but beneath the surface, key questions remain unresolved. One detail stands out: a Rolex watch, reportedly missing, then reappearing under unclear circumstances. When exactly was the watch accounted for, and by whom? Eyewitness accounts, some referenced, few fully released. Statements exist, but not all have been made public. Not in full, not in sequence. Why have complete witness statements not been disclosed? The Argentine investigation continues. Not closed, not finalized, active. Which brings us to another jurisdiction, the United Kingdom, where a separate inquest has been opened and then paused, adjourned. The reason? Authorities are waiting for Argentina to finish, waiting for clarity that has not yet arrived. The inquest is now scheduled to resume no earlier than May 7, 2026, nearly 2 years after the fall. What critical information is still missing after this length of time? There are also financial questions. No will, an estate to be processed, legal structures activated after death, not prepared before it. These are not causes, but they are consequences, part of the wider picture left behind. Officially, the case is not a murder. There is no evidence of direct violence, no sign of a push, no indication of intent from another party. But absence of evidence is not the same as presence of explanation. What happened in that room, in those final minutes, remains partially obscured, not by conspiracy, but by gaps, procedural gaps, evidentiary gaps, questions that remain unanswered, not because they are hidden, but because they were never fully resolved. A man attempts to leave through a balcony, in a state described as overwhelmed, in a room where risk was already known, surrounded by people who recognized danger, but did not prevent the outcome. 2 individuals still face charges for supplying drugs. Others have been cleared. Investigations continue, and an inquest waits. If the system saw the risk, and the risk was real, then the final question is unavoidable. Why did nothing stop him before he reached the edge?